What's up, guys? I just want to start off this video by saying Merry Christmas. Not sure when this video will come out or when you'll see it, but I just know it's going to be after Christmas at some point. So hopefully you all had a safe, happy, healthy, blessed Christmas with your family. And always remember that family is everything. The people that you spend the most time with, that love and care about you the most, that support you the most, is just unmatched with anything in this world. So always remember that. Always be grateful for the time that you do get to spend with them. But on another note, I appreciate all you guys for supporting me these last 2-3 months on my YouTube poker journey. It's really meant a lot, and it's been really fun, this whole process. It's crazy to think that the year is almost over. We're at the end of the year 2023. It passed by fast, it really did. And the next few vlogs you're about to see is our last trip out in Vegas for the year 2023. And if you guys can do me a huge favor, leave a comment down below on other poker rooms around the country that you'd like me to go and visit. As close as Arizona, Texas, or even as far as East Coast, like Atlantic City, that'd be kind of cool. Never been there. So I'm interested to see your guys' suggestions on other great poker rooms around the country. And maybe in 2024, we can go visit those. But again, I appreciate all your guys' support. Hope you guys enjoy this one. And let's get to it. Who in their right mind goes to Vegas at 5:45 in the morning? This guy, apparently. But just landed and about to get an Uber. So, I mean, you can see the strip behind me. And yeah, gonna go to the hotel and let's find a game. Let's do it. I'm not really the type of person to hold any grudges, but I also don't forget either. And if you guys see my last video when I was out here in Vegas in October, I didn't do so well at this location. So we're back at it at the Encore. It's super early, but hoping to find a game and do a little better than we did last time. Unfortunately, at this time, there's only a few games running. There's maybe 1-1-3 and 1-2-5 going. So it takes about an hour, hour and a half for our name to get called. And they actually start a new 1-3 game. So that's where we sit down first. The first hand we get involved in, we're in middle position. We have King 10 suited, the spade variety. I raise it up to 10. The next act calls and everybody else gets out of the way. So heads up to a flop. And it comes Queen 2-6 rainbow. I throw out a c-bet, $10, and he quickly folds. On to hand number 2, we have Jack 10 of clubs and under the gun. Probably my favorite hand, I'd say. Not necessarily the clubs variety, but just Jack 10 suited in general. If I haven't already mentioned it before, but I'm saying it again. So we're in the under the gun, like I said. We raise to 12. Only the button makes the call. And the flop comes Jack 8 deuce rainbow. Unlike the last hand, we actually hit a pair. But like the last hand, we throw out another c-bet. We make it 15. And same result, he folds. We show a jack and take it down. Those are the only two hands we play because our name gets called for the 2-5 game. So we book the $22 win and head over to the other table. Hopefully that's foreshadowing for what's to come in the 2-5 streets. It's a $1,500 max at this location, so that's what we decide to start with. And the first 30-45 minutes, nothing too much really to talk about. I mean, I raise a suited connector, get 3-bet, call, and completely miss the flop. Or calling an initial raise with a small pair and not hitting and forced to fold to a c-bet.
So with all that being said, we chip down a little bit, and the first interesting hand we get involved in, we're in the big blind with Jack 8 offsuit. There's an under the gun straddle to 10. It folds around to the button, who limps for 10. The small blind gets out of the way, and I throw in 5 more, come along for the ride. But the under the gun straddle doesn't like 10 apparently, so he bumps it up, he makes it 40 to go. The button folds his hand, and maybe this is a dumb play, but I really don't want to be pushed around, because that's really the last thing you want, is to be that player who either raises and folds to 3-bet, folds to aggression, or in situations like this, tries to see a cheap flop and folds to a single raise. So we throw in the additional money and heads up out of position to a flop, and it's 9 ace 8 rainbow. We hit bottom pair, have a backdoor straight draw also, but we check and flow to the under the gun, who throws out a c-bet, makes it 50. In this game, it's hard to hit a pair, so we can't really fold to 1 c-bet, so I make the call. And the turn comes, it's a 10 of hearts. So we pick up some additional equity. We have open-ended now with our bottom pair. I think about leading on this card, but this older man has been playing a lot of hands, and his range is completely uncapped. So I check and flow again, and he checks back. So now we know we're ahead. I figured if he had an ace, he'd definitely throw out another bet. So just hoping for a clean river, and it comes, it's a 3 of clubs, total blank. Again, another spot where I can lead out and bet myself, or check and hopefully he fires with air. But by him checking the turn, it's unlikely that he'd throw out a bet on the river with this card. So I take it upon myself and lead out. I make it 60, hoping to get a crying call from anything or induce a raise of some sort, but sadly he folds. With losing all those hands for the first 30-45 minutes, it feels pretty good to have chips come our way. In this hand, we finally pick up something decent. We have ace-queen offsuit in middle position. I raise to 15. Next to act, the older gentleman that we just played a hand against makes the call. The button calls, and both blinds get out of the way. So 3 ways to a flop. And it's queen 2-9 with 2 diamonds. We have top, and no diamonds in our hand, so gotta protect from draws. So I throw out a bet, make it 20. They both make the call, so still 3 ways to a turn. And it's the 10 of clubs. The front door flush doesn't hit, but the board is a lot more connected now. The backdoor flush comes in, so now there's 2 flush draws on board, and potential straights, and a lot more 2-pair combinations. Even though the board is a little dicey now, I still don't want to give up the betting lead, so I throw out another bet, I make it 55. The next act calls, and the button gets out of the way, so heads up to a river, and it's the 7 of clubs. I check to him, because I don't think I'm going to get 3 streets of value from worse. So either hoping he checks back, or fires out with his miss front door flush, or his pair plus straight draw that he may have. He does bet, and makes it 175. Almost a pot size bet. Little less than pot size. We take a little while on this one. Maybe he's turning the ace of clubs into a bluff. I mean, I have the queen of clubs, so reducing his club combos like queen jack of clubs. Not many 2-pair combinations that I'm worried about, because if he had some of those 2-pair combinations like queen 9 or queen 10, I probably should have heard from him on the turn. I'm not blocking any diamonds, so maybe he has something like king something of diamonds, or perhaps jack 7 of diamonds, missing the front door flush and turning his middling pair into a bluff. And about 30 seconds later, we come up with our decision and make the call. And he shows ace 4 clubs. So going runner, we bet the entire way when we were ahead and checked when we weren't. Just couldn't make the correct laydown. Oh well, the chips go in the wrong direction, but can't reminisce too much, because a few hands later, we're in the cutoff with 10-9 of clubs. So hey, maybe it's our turn to hit the clubs this time. The low jack limps for 5. The next act, the hijack, raises to 20. I make the call, the button makes the call, and the low jack calls 15 more. So 4 ways to a flop, and it comes 9-2-8, but all hearts. We have top pair, mediocre kicker, but super monotone board with all the hearts. The low jack checks, the hijack checks, and multi-way, I don't see this board getting any better for us. It could only get worse. So I either want to take it down right now or at least in the field. So I make a bet. I throw out 30. The button says no hearts and folds his cards. The low jack and the hijack make the call. So I guess we thin the field a little bit, but now we're in position because the button fold. So to a turn, 3 ways, and it's the 4 clubs. It's a good card because it's a card lower than our pair and no hearts. So that's good. They both check. And again, this board could only get worse for me. So I need to continue the aggression and charge any draws. So I throw out 80 and it gets the job done because they both fold. Sometimes it's a little hard jotting down notes, especially when the hands are so back to back. Like in this case, it's a few hands later. So if you guys feel for all the vloggers out there, give this video a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. It helps me out a ton, helps grow the channel a lot, and helps the poker community as a whole to provide the best content we can for you guys. I appreciate you guys doing that because I know you gave it a like. So on to this hand. We're in middle position and we have ace jack offsuit. Guy to my right limps for 5. I raise it up, I make it 20. It folds around back to him and he makes a call. So heads up to a flop and it's queen 10-5 all diamonds. We have 1 over, straight draw and flush draw, but the flop goes check check. So on to a turn and it's the king of spades. Absolutely drilling this card, giving us Broadway. And after checking the flop, he actually leads on this card and throws out 25. We want to bump this pot up because we don't want to see any scare cards come on the river. So we make it 75 to go. He takes a quick glance at his cards and thinks about it for a little bit, then makes the call. With a little over $200 in the middle, the river comes and it's the queen of clubs. We get downgraded a little bit, but I'm not too worried about the board pairing because I feel like if he had a set on the flop or 2 pair on the flop, he probably would have let out having 3 diamonds on the board. So we can rule out pocket queens for quads, queen 10, pocket 10s, or pocket 5s for a full house. And definitely pocket kings because pocket kings would have raised themselves pre-flop instead of just limping for $5. He slows down and checks and got to go for some value. So we throw out 120. He checks his cards again, which I thought was really strange, and actually jams for a little over $600. Pause the video right now and comment down below what you think he has. I think for about a second and make the snap call because 2xing the pot just seems super bluffy to me. And getting around 2-1 on a call, we're at the top of our range and only need to be right around 33% of the time. But unfortunately this time we get shown the bad news and he has ace-7 of diamonds for the nut flush on the flop. Looking back at the hand, I probably should have got away from it on the river. But at this point, I just felt like Oprah, to be honest. Like, you get a flush, you get a flush. I mean, the nut flush, especially. Within 15, 20 minutes, 2 guys, one on my left, one on my right, catch the nut flush on me. One of them rivered the nut flush, and one of them flopped the nut flush. I mean, just sick. We don't even have time to add on to our stack, because the very next shuffle, we have ace-10 offsuit and under the gun straddle. The under the gun 1 next to act limps for 10. The low jack limps, who already had $5 in for posting because I guess he stepped away from the table, so he limps. Onto the button now, and he raises to 50. The small blind gets out of the way. The big blind calls, and with all the dead money in the middle, and with the button trying to take advantage of that, I'm blocking some strong ace-x hands, so I 3-bet. I make it 125 to go. I should have made it a little bit bigger out of position, but by losing that big hand right before and not adding on to my stack, I only had around 500, maybe 550. So I made it a little bit smaller this time. Folds around back to the button, who makes the call. And the big blind closing the action, getting a good price, makes the call as well. So 3 ways to a flop. And it comes ace-9-4 with 2 spades. The big blind checks to me. And we have top pair, so we down bet, we make it 100. The button makes the call, and the big blind gets out of the way. So heads up to a turn, and it's the queen of clubs. Not too much of a decision, to be honest, and we're just gonna go with our hand. So we decided to jam our entire stack. We avoid the snap, which I'm happy about, So at this point, I wouldn't really mind a call, but only having a 10 kicker is still kind of sus. The longer he tanks, I'm more and more rooting for a call, but unfortunately after 20 seconds, he lays his cards down. I flashed an ace, and the big blind said he had pocket jacks, and the button later told me he had a draw. The very next shuffle, we get involved with the same guy. We're in the big blind with pocket fours. Folds around to him in the cutoff, and he raises to 15. I come along, and it's heads up to a flop, and it's ace, queen, queen, 2 diamonds. The flop goes check, check. The turn is a 9 of hearts. I check again. He bets out 15, and not going anywhere. I make the call, and the river is a total blank. I check, he checks. I say I have 4s, and he says he has a 9, so he takes it down. We finally get a little bit of a breather. We're in the under the gun 1 with jack 9 of spades. Not really sure why the under the gun only had $5 out there. Maybe he thought he was big blind, or maybe he was posting and he stepped away. Don't really remember. But I raise next to act. I make it 15. The cutoff calls, the small blind calls, the big blind, and the under the gun get out of the way. So 3 ways to a flop. And it comes 7-5-3 with 2 hearts and 1 diamond. Small blind checks to me. And in between 2 opponents, I check, and the cutoff checks as well. So still 3 ways to a turn, and it pairs the board. It's a 3 of clubs. It checks all the way around a second time, and the river comes as ace of diamonds, a card that we can represent. So when the small blind checks to me, we're gonna do just that, and we throw out $20. The cutoff quickly calls, and right away I'm like, oh, I lost. Small blind gets out of the way. I say jack high, and he flips over an ace, ace 6 of clubs. It turns out it hit his range, not mine. Oops. Moving on to this hand, we have ace 3 of clubs in the big blind, the hijack, the button, and small blind limp, and too many limpers for me, so I raise it up, make it 25 to go. The button and small blind make the call, so 3 ways to a flop, and it comes king 8-4 rainbow. There's 1 club out there, so we have backdoor potential, straight, and flush draw. The small blind checks to me. I make a continuation bet. I throw out 30. The button folds right away. The small blind makes the call. So we're in position now, so that's good. The turn comes, and it's a jack of hearts. Brings in the backdoor flush draw, just not our backdoor flush draw. So when the small blind checks to me, only way to win is to bet. So that's what I do. I throw out 55. Luckily, he folds, and it's good to get one through with ace high. A few orbits go by until this hand comes up. We have 9-7 of hearts in the cutoff. Folds around to me. We make a standard raise. We throw out 15. The button makes a 3 bet, a standard size, 45. I make the call. The flop comes 6-8-3 rainbow. We're open-ended. Any 5 or any 10 gives us a straight, but we still check and flow to the aggressor, and he checks back. And the turn comes, it's a 5 of diamonds. Bringing in the backdoor flush draw, but giving us the nut straight. I lead out on this card for $50, and even though he's been super aggro and super call happy, this time he gives his cards back to the dealer. Any poker player would know catching hands is just half the battle. Getting paid off is the other half. After that last hand, we go completely card dead for about 2 hours until this one comes up. We have king queen offsuit in the cutoff. There's an under the gun straddle to 10, folds around to me. I raise it up, I make it 35. Only the under the gun straddle makes the call, so heads up in position to a flop, and it's queen 6-10 rainbow. We have top pair, king kicker, so when he checks to me, I throw out 30. He makes the call. The turn comes as a 3 of spades. Brings in the backdoor flush draw, but ultimately a blank. So when he checks to me for a second time, I throw out more money, I make it 80. And this is where the hand gets interesting. He actually check raises and makes it 325 to go. I have around $800 behind in my stack, and now I'm just really thinking on what combinations of hands he could have. He was in the under the gun straddle, so his range is uncapped. What I mean by that is that he can have a variety of hands. He could have queen 6 for 2 pair. He could have 6-10 for 2 pair. He could have pocket 6s. I feel like pocket queens, which we're blocking, would have 3-bet pre-flop. Pocket tens probably would have 3-bet as well. Or even the 3 could have helped him with having 6-3 or 10-3 for that matter. Okay, maybe not 10-3, that's pushing it, but still, you guys know what I mean. I feel like I have 2 options here. I could either jam and hopefully he doesn't snap call, or just fold and fight another day. In my head, I was really thinking, damn, if I call and he just shows me the goods, I'm down 1.5K starting out our trip, and that wouldn't be a good feeling. I know I shouldn't let that thought process determine any decisions I make at the poker table, but it's just really hard sometimes. And in this case, I reluctantly fold my cards. Not sure if you guys saw, because the dealer takes away the cards really fast, but he had Jack 5 of spades. So we get completely owned this time, folding the best hand. I really was on the verge of jamming. I don't know why I thought he was gonna snap call, and just my heart would have sank. Moving on to the last hand of the session, we chipped down quite a bit for the last hour and a half. We either completely card dead or just totally whiffing flops. So we have about $450 in our stack, and we have 3 deuce of clubs and under the gun straddle. It folds around all the way to the small blind, and he raises it up. He makes it 30, and closing the action in position, I make the call. The flop comes 9, 6, 8 with 1 club. So we have a backdoor flush draw, but other than that, really nothing. Although this board should hit us more than it does him, so there still is some potential. The small blind makes a continuation bet. He throws out 40. Other than a club on the turn, there's really no other cards that can improve us. So just based on the board texture, again, hitting me more than it does him, we raise it up. We make it 115 to go. Expecting him just to fold all his ace high hands. And even if he does have an overpair, I could potentially get those hands to fold on either the turn or the river. He thinks about it for a little bit, checks his cards, and actually raises to 300. And my whole game plan of stealing it on the turn or the river kind of goes up in flames.
I want to be on the vlog. Do I have to show to get on the vlog?
You show, yeah, show.
As you saw, he had top pair, 9, 10 of diamonds. So what I thought was a good board for me, apparently was a better board for him. I got to talking to this guy throughout the session and a little bit afterwards, and just a super cool guy to hang out with, play cards with. His name was Dave, so shout out to you, Dave. I appreciate you subscribing to the channel and supporting. We play a little while longer after that, but nothing of note to discuss. So we just decide to take the L and rack up our chips and cash out.
Definitely not the start we were looking for, guys. I mean, that's poker. What are you gonna do? Just couldn't get anything going and couldn't catch anything and making some bad plays. I mean, I'll be the first one to admit that I didn't play my best or even close to it. Paying off people when I shouldn't have, folding when I shouldn't have, got bluffed on that king-queen hand. That one kind of tilted me a little bit. I mean, one guy rivered the nut flush on me, one guy flopped the nut flush on me, and the guy that flopped the nut flush, I turned Broadway. So that just was kind of gross. I shouldn't have paid him off there at the end, but I did. And yeah, just a lot of mistakes. I can't even think of them all, to be honest. But played the 1-3 for like 10 minutes, won like 20 bucks. And then the 2-5, about 5 hours, in for 15, out for 361, I think. I don't know, the numbers will be somewhere on the screen. But yeah, definitely not the start we wanted. But still a few more days on this trip. Just got in, haven't even got to the hotel yet. I got there and obviously there's not a room at 6 in the morning that's ready. So gotta head back, gonna get a workout in, get some food in me. And who knows where we'll end up, but we're definitely gonna play some more. So if you guys liked the video, if you guys learned something on how not to play or what not to do, give it a thumb up, give it a comment, something, let me know how bad I played. But yeah, I'm Matty Ice, this is Gaines Poker. Peace out.